Fantasy Facts, presented by Gridiron Experts, with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
Oh, whoa.
Oh.
We got a little. Uh-oh. Welcome back, everybody. I was born ready. I'm waiting on you. You're the one clicking buttons over there.
Yeah. Just got a little excited. Yeah. I put so much work into that drop, I wanted to hear it twice.
Welcome back, everybody. Seth and I are here on our regularly scheduled evening to talk a little Week 11. And we got a quick turnaround for three, not one, not two, but three football games coming up on Thursday. So we have a lot to get into and not a lot of time to cover everything. So let's jump right into it. Make sure you give the show a follow. We're at GX Fantasy Facts. I'm at Dynasty_Pat. Seth is at FF, the at home dad. The show at GX Fantasy Facts. I'm going to say it one more time. We got a couple of promos going. You can use the code FAQS, FAQS, with our good friends at ViridianGlobal.com. Get 10% off your total order. There it is. Use FAQS at checkout, FAQS. Then also join us on Underdog at Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code FAQS, again, FAQS. And we will match up to, or they will match, not we, they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. Seth, how are we doing tonight?
I am super. Minus the just building bunk beds for my kids. There's so much more room for activities now. But like we did that at like 7:00 at night, and that was just a terrible choice. But we're here, and we're gonna talk some football, and I'm excited for it. So let's jump into it, shall we?
I hope you checked the show sheet because I have the perfect opening question for you.
Oh, well, let's hear the drop first.
It's time to pop one open with the opening question.
Everyone's favorite offensive coordinator of the New York Giants, Jason Garrett, has been fired after 26 games. Rumors that Freddie Kitchens will be the interim OC. So who is the biggest benefactor of Jason Garrett being fired? Is it football in general? Can we say that? Is that too broad?
Yes, but honestly, the biggest benefactors, if Freddie Kitchens is coming in, it's pretty much the NFC East. We were benefactors from Jason Garrett being there. Him leaving and being replaced with Freddie Kitchens is just as bad. But I'm most upset about this because 10 years he was with the Cowboys. 10 fucking years with the Cowboys. Just, third and 23. Let's run a screen and not even attempt it. Okay, good work. We lost a couple more yards. Fourth and 25. Good. Let's punt it away. He was so happy to clap and punt. It drove me nuts. For 10 years. 10 fucking years. And the Giants get rid of him in a year and a half? That is barely enough suffering. Barely enough suffering with Jason Garrett. The Giants deserve to have him for a minimum of 3 years. Minimum. And they're already done in a year and a half. That to me is the most upsetting part of this news, is the unfairness and how long I had to watch the clapper on the sidelines of my favorite team. And the Giants are done after only a year and a half.
To help put some things in context, I believe, I think it was a Field Yates tweet that had said something to the tune of the Giants had scored, since the start of the 2020 season, the Giants had scored the least or second least amount of total touchdowns, second only to the Jets. So good for you, New York. We'll go ahead and give you one of these. Just really, really racking it up. And then another one I went down this nice rabbit hole of tweets making fun of Jason Garrett and the Giants, and someone had pointed out that the Giants had only scored over 30 points one time in the last 26 games. Now, for comparison, my Lions have done it 5 times. The Houston Texans have done it 6 times. So 2 of the worst teams in the league have scored 30 points or more way more times than the Giants have. And the Giants, I don't believe the Giants are talked about as poorly as the Lions and the Texans are across the league. So the biggest benefactor there, it has to be Daniel Jones, right? If we're being serious, it has to be Daniel Jones, right? Because Garrett has not been the whole Giants offense. I mean, on paper, they have a lot of weapons at their disposal.
I would say the biggest benefactor is probably a healthy Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking back to like Freddie Kitchens when he took over for the Browns.
Right.
Like, granted, like you have a good runner in Chubb, probably at this point better than Saquon, because I think Saquon's still dealing with injuries. And Freddie helped out Baker, but then in the longer term kind of hurt Baker. And I don't think you could hurt Daniel Jones much more than he already is. So I think what you're hoping for. Yeah. What you're hoping for is that run game getting a little bit better and going, okay, Saquon is back to being Saquon if he's 100% healthy, which at times he looked good last night, and then at other times he looked like every time he got hit, his ankle was causing issues. So I agree. I think maybe a little bit Daniel Jones, but I hope it's Saquon in there a little bit as well.
I mean, I'm looking back at that 2018 draft, right, where the Giants took Barkley second overall, and the Giants got shredded because they took a running back second overall. So Quentin Nelson went 6, Mike McGlinchey went 9, and then Colton. I mean, it's not like that draft class was loaded with talent, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't know.
Quentin Nelson is a stud, though. Like, I feel like any team would be better with him as a lineman. But I mean, that's already in the past. What they need right now moving forward is they probably need to get Saquon more involved. They need to run plays where who was it? I think it was Dan Orlovsky showed the play where it was literally 3 guys just running into each other right over the front of the ball, like 5 yards deep, and like it was probably meant to be a type of mesh route or some kind of rub route, but it just looks so sloppy. And I think there's going to be, I think you're going to get Freddie Kitchens going back to a little bit more fundamental football, and I think that means better things for Saquon, and it probably means better things for Kenny Galladay, because they might actually just say, you know what, we're gonna take that one-on-one chance. Daniel Jones, throw the ball at that one-on-one option and take advantage of it. If we're paying Kenny Galladay this amount of money, throw him the ball. And he finished last night with, what was it, 1 catch for 9 yards, 19 yards, something like that. Like I won a fantasy game yesterday. I had no one playing in the game, and they needed to score 10 points. They had me beat until the end of the game, towards the end of the game, where Daniel Jones ended up getting sack, pick, sack. And I ended up winning by like a point. I was like, I honestly feel like I don't deserve this win, but I'm going to take it because it's still a W. I mean, that's just how bad they are right now. And I was playing against Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay. So get them the ball. Simplify it a little bit. Just move the ball. They have the offensive weapons to move the ball. Take advantage of it. Get the ball into Saquon's hands. Get the ball into Kadarius Toney's hands. Get the ball into Galladay's hands. And throw some Darius Slayton in there too, because I've always liked him and own him in probably too many dynasty leagues.
And I'm looking up where the Giants, the Giants aren't good this year. Looking up there, this is from Tankathon. So the Giants have 2 first-round picks. They have their first-round pick, and they have Chicago's first-round pick from the trade last year, where the Giants traded down
to get Kadarius Toney.
To get Toney, exactly.
Yep.
So the Giants and the Giants have 5 picks in the top 72 selections in the draft. So you can retool that offensive line. You can add to that defense. I mean, you could do a lot, especially with 2 picks potentially in the top 10. So you can do some good things there. So I don't think Freddie Kitchens is the answer long term with the Giants, because he wasn't the answer with a much better Cleveland team. So
wow, that is a hell of a slight right there. To say that the Browns were a much better team than the Giants.
Browns, when Freddie Kitchens was there, were infinitely better than the Giants with Freddie Kitchens.
I mean, that's just really funny to hear anybody say the Browns were better than a team, especially over those stretch of, for how long the Browns have been bad.
Right.
But, all right,
let's move on.
Spent too much time on that one. So
Freddie Kitchens and the Giants. Let's go to the news desk, shall we?
Oh, wait! Before we do that, we did have in here, Pat. You still look like you're in prison, and also Freddie Kitchens will simplify. He'll run 4 verts.
The old 4 verts.
Which honestly, why not?
Well, what's the one route where I think it's 3 verts, and then the one guy runs like a crossing route, like that? That's the route. That's the play you want to run.
Where he's digging underneath of it, or where he's running a post to try and take, because the 4 verts you're trying to.
No, it's not 4 verts. It's like 3 verticals, and then one guy runs like a post. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up while you're talking. I'll look it up, and we'll come back to this. But let's go to the news desk. But also, thank you, Shane. I'm doing well. I'm getting my hour of exercise a day. Clearly not hitting the weight room. And eating 2 or 3 meals too many.
There you go.
Fresh from the Fantasy Facts News Desk.
No, we already did that job.
I mean, that's my own little cheers.
Your own little cheers. All right, let's start with some QB news and notes from Week 11, and we'll start with those Chicago Bears, because Justin Fields has some bruised ribs. He is week to week, and so interesting with the Bears. They've already come out and said Andy Dalton is starting Week 12. There are also reports coming out that says Matt Nagy will be fired after the game on Thursday.
I love that they're already saying that. But
I don't know what's funnier, right? Are the Bears going to be the first? Will this be the first Bears team to fire a coach midseason after getting a win, or are the Lions going to beat the Bears and that's the nail in the Matt Nagy coffin? I really want it to be the latter, because we have just shredded Matt Nagy on this show for years.
I mean, he's just not very good. I don't know what else. I don't know what else needs to happen here. I mean, Matt Nagy, so long, sucker.
All right, so I'm going to keep it there with that Bears-Lions game, because it's looking like an Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle on Thanksgiving Day, because nothing says Thanksgiving Day football like Lions and Bears and Dalton and Boyle. But Goff is 50-50 to start Thursday, so I think that will be interesting to see. Even if Goff, I as a Lions fan, and that being like the marquee, like the first game to kick the Thursday off, I don't want to watch any of it, and that beats me.
I'm really happy that like we're going as like a whole family, where my father-in-law is driving like the whole group of us in his minivan, which means I'm going to be doing some serious drinking come Thanksgiving Thursday. And that's the only thing that I think can make that Bears-Lions game watchable. Is like you almost need like the Thanksgiving bingo card, like when you do the Super Bowl and it's like, when Tony Romo says he knows what the next play is going to be and gets it completely wrong, take a shot. Like, I almost need one of those for this Thursday morning, mid-afternoon game of the Bears-Lions, because woof. Woof.
Yeah. Let's go. We'll keep it in the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers, turf toe. He will play the rest of the season. I guess it's more pain management.
Mhm.
And we'll end with a bit of good news. The Jets came out and said Zach Wilson will be starting week 12, which is
good
because
good news?
Flacco did go on the COVID list, so I think it's I don't know honestly. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's the Jets.
Yeah.
It's the Jets.
I will say though, for Aaron Rodgers, I do really appreciate the joke from Howard Stern that asked if Aaron Rodgers went to Joe Rogan for his turf toe, since he went to Joe Rogan for his COVID. And since he trusts his medical advice so much. So I do really appreciate that joke.
Howard Stern is probably the only one that can get away with.
Cheers, Howard.
He's the only one that can get away with that joke.
Yeah. But honestly, it's all what it is. Zach Wilson, it's the Jets. The Jets, they're playing the Texans, and like that's going to be the game. That's going to be the game that Red Zone focuses on when somebody's not actually in the red zone, because they always have like, all right, let's we got nobody in the red zone. Let's just randomly cut over to the worst game on football. Here's the Jets and Texans at the 33. Like that's what I feel Red Zone does all the time to us.
It's too bad neither of these teams has like a competent offense, because both of these teams have just god awful defenses. I'm looking at your sheet here, like literally the strongest aspect to either team's defense here is the Jets are the 14th best worst team against quarterbacks, and that's it. Every other matchup is top 10.
Yeah.
The Jets are giving up the most points to running backs, 9th most to wide receivers, 10th most to tight ends. The Texans are giving up the 6th, the 7th, and the 6th most points to those positions. 7th most points to wide receivers.
Yeah.
If you could put a competent fucking offense on either one of these teams, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's wild that there's just no, this game is either going to be incompetence all around.
Yes, stop. I'm going to stop right there.
And points getting scored.
No, it's incompetence all around. This is going to be like a 12-9 finish.
No, there's going to be a safety in there somewhere.
12-11.
So yeah, it's gonna be one of those like scoregami things where it's like, if this game finishes like this, it'll be the first time in history that we have a game finishing 2-3.
All right, let's go to wide receivers.
Yep.
This is a big one. So CeeDee Lamb, a bit concussed.
Yep.
And we were talking about this pre-show. I understand it's a 5-step process. It's a very short turnaround from playing Sunday to Thursday. Some reports I saw he was already ruled out. Some say he is not out. He is progressing nicely. You told me pre-show that it was a mild concussion.
I was going to say, I thought that's what I read, but maybe that was me just being blinded by tears at how awful the Cowboys were, and just hoping that he was better. But I'm trying to look right now to see if there's any updates on it.
Yeah, me as well.
Because that their offense looked abysmal without CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Like it was bad. And not only was it bad, like it was just bad in every phase of that offense. They couldn't run the ball with Tyron Smith out. They couldn't pass the ball. Their wide receivers were dropping the ball. The 4-man rush for the Chiefs were getting in and disrupting everything. Like the Chiefs didn't even need to blitz. They just did their typical 4-man rush and were blowing everything up. So I'm really hopeful that he can play. I think this is the one that I saw. So according to Michael Gelkin, Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb concussion is making progress, Coach Mike McCarthy said. He's in the meetings. He'll probably get to the point where he can do some light field work today. And that was earlier this morning. And it looks like later on it came out and said that there's no he didn't make it out onto the field today. So I mean it is
you need one. Ideally you get both back, right? But you're not gonna risk. I think it's going to be easier for Amari Cooper to come back. I haven't seen any updates on him regarding negative COVID tests or more positive COVID tests. So there's probably a better chance that Amari Cooper is back Thursday. You need one. Mm-hmm. Both would be awesome, but you're not going to risk the long-term health of CeeDee Lamb for the game Thursday. So if it's me, and I'm trying to read more here on CeeDee Lamb. If it's me, maybe just sit him and
put him out of your lineup, unless Thursday morning comes and they're like, hey, CD's active, then you switch him out. With it being a Thursday game, you do have a little bit more flexibility there, but you just have to make the call right now, right? I would rather look at my lineup without him in it and be surprise, hey, I can play him, than try and have him in there and go, oh crap, I got to take him out. I'd rather.
I mean, Dallas is borderline comfortably winning the NFC East. Mm-hmm. They're 7-3. Philly's next at 5-6. So, and Dallas is 2-0 in the division. So they're pretty comfortably leading that division. There's no need to rush CeeDee Lamb back against a Raiders team who is giving up, who's really only really only successful against stopping wide receivers. They're 11th most points to quarterbacks, 7th most to running backs, 2nd most to tight ends. So, again, like you just said, if you've got CeeDee Lamb, start with him on your bench and go from there. Let's move down to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown suffered a chest injury. An official diagnosis is unknown. He did have x-rays on his ribs. There's no rib fracture. He's having more tests done, but right now it's just kind of unknown, and they're calling him day to day. Yeah. So Tennessee is no Julio, potentially no A.J. Brown.
No Derrick Henry.
They're starting a bunch of nobodies at running back. I mean, they released Adrian Peterson. We have that later on to talk about running backs, but AP was waived by the Titans today to make room for Dontrell Hilliard. So,
which isn't he a throwback to Freddie Kitchens also
in Cleveland?
Yeah, wasn't he one of the running backs on Cleveland during that Freddie Kitchens tenure? I
believe he was. So, I mean, it's actually, we may as well keep this Tennessee train going. Golden Tate was signed to the Titans practice squad, so they're injuries galore in Tennessee at wide receiver.
And desperate is what it is.
It's desperate because you're looking at Dez Fitzpatrick.
Which I did like Dez Fitzpatrick, and I literally just dropped him before their game against Houston because I was like, he's just practice squad the whole way through. Like I was like, I gotta cut him. Like I need to pick up somebody because I got nothing left on my roster. My roster literally looks like the league's injury report with the number of outs and IRs I have. So I was like, I need to pick up somebody. And so I cut Dez Fitzpatrick. He gets his first start, and he catches a touchdown in it. And it's like, God damn it, now I have to pick him up off the waivers again and actually,
overpay.
Try and grab him. Yeah. Yep.
And it's going to be – so that Tennessee game is going to be interesting because New England is really, really good. Their defense is really, really good. Yeah. These guys are probably worth picking up because you don't know the long – especially with Julio Jones. There's really no second option after A.J. Brown. So take a flyer on a Dez Fitzpatrick or on a Nick Westbrook. What's his last name? Nick Westbrook. Akinhe? I can't. Yeah,
Something like that.
we both just butchered that.
That was
awful. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move
I
on.
mean,
All right.
I just want to throw one thing out there real quick.
Sure.
The Tennessee Titans have
Tennessee?
had Tennessee.
There it is.
So we didn't butcher your name. I just have a speech impediment. That's not true. I apologize for butchering your name. The Titans have lost 3 times to the Arizona Cardinals week 1, which the Cardinals have been phenomenal. Then they lost to the Jets, which I was at that game and it was like, holy shit, the Jets are winning this. And then I think that was an overtime game too. And then
it was not an overtime game.
It didn't go to overtime? Oh, it just felt like it because we started drinking.
It did go to overtime. You were right. It did.
Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely felt like it, but
you're
and
right.
then they just lost to the Texans.
Yep.
So we were just saying how inept the Texans are. The Titans just lost to them, and now the Titans are going to New England, going to New England, and they're about to get crushed. Like if AJ Brown can't go, if Julio is still out, Derrick Henry we know is still out, like they're about to get crushed by New England.
If AJ Brown is, that's a game like you. So before, like you're looking at this game, before the games last week started, like, oh man, Tennessee, New England, that's gonna be a good one. Not anymore.
Yeah,
not anymore. All right, let's go to Jacksonville. Jamal Agnew, hip dislocation, out for the year, and back to Chicago. Allen Robinson was another. Did not practice today, Tuesday.
Another one because he hasn't been playing for the whole season, at least not for fantasy.
Fair enough. So, that Lions-Bears game is shaping up to be just fucking wonderful. There's no bitterness there. Let's go to tight ends real quick. 2 big ones to talk about. Adam Troutman suffers a left MCL sprain. He is out 4 to 6 weeks after coming off of what might have been the best game of his professional career this past week. Had a nice little connection there with Trevor Siemian. So that offense is now, no Michael Thomas for the whole season. Kamara has been injured. He
did not practice today. Again, I want to say so.
Yes, that's We'll get Kamara was a DNP today as well. So Troutman gone 4 to 6 weeks, essentially the season, because why would you? No point. No, exactly. Yeah. And then Eric Ebron suffered a significant knee injury. It's last I heard it was to be determined, but he's expected to miss a good amount of time. This is per Jeremy Fowler. And I checked this a couple hours ago, so I haven't seen any updates since then. So Ebron down probably for the season, and same with Adam Troutman.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Steelers. I mean,
I'm trying to see if there's more.
That offense seems like it's always been like Deontay Johnson getting a ton of targets and almost never in the end zone. Yep. Chase Claypool is either a home run or nothing. Yep. Najee Harris is going to touch the ball 35 times, and you're hoping that it's another 15 catch game for him. And then you have Freiermuth, who knows? He has a decent game, he has a not so good game. He has a decent game, he has a not.
He's a rookie tight end
together that were good, but there's not a lot of variance in that Steelers offense. No, at least not as what it is right now. You're gonna get the same kind of production each week, and sometimes it pays out for them, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, they had one of their best weeks of the season this week, putting up 37 points, and they still lost because Austin Eckler went bananas.
So this is a big week for Pittsburgh too. They play the Bengals, They are a game, the half game, because they tied the Lions. So the Steelers are half game behind the Bengals. So it's a big game in Pittsburgh. That's going to be. We'll cue in on that one later on in the show because that's a game I'm looking forward to quite a bit. All right, let's go to running backs. We talked about Kamara already. He did not practice today. We talked about Adrian Peterson being waived by the Titans. Ezekiel Elliott did suffer a knee injury in the game last week, but he did manage to return. And just reading up on him, it sounds like it's more pain management than anything else, and he doesn't envision himself not playing this week. So I think Zeke is in for a much easier battle this week. Like I said, the Raiders give up the 7th most points to the running back position. Mm-hmm. Dallas is going to be down one of their, if not both of their big receivers. So I would expect to see a heavy dose of Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard this week. And hopefully you mix in a little Dalton Schultz as well. Because Las Vegas is not good against the tight end.
Yeah. I mean, Zeke came out and said that the knee didn't slow him down last week, or last week, just a couple days ago. But it seems like he gets these little nagging injuries and just plays through them, right? And
yeah,
it from what it looks like from my perspective, it looks like it's bothering him because he doesn't look like he has the same pop that he's had throughout his career, right? And so I'm not going to go out there and say that Zeke is washed because I think part of it is they just got crushed by the Chiefs off defensive line, and like embarrassingly crushed by that Chiefs defensive line. And so like if the Cowboys get Tyron Smith back, if they get one of those wide receivers back, if they're able to pull some of that coverage, pull some of those defenders back a little bit so that Zeke can, run and hopefully find a lane. Like, oh my, it was like playing I feel like it was playing Frogger. Like it was just, there's no lane. When you thought there was an open lane, boom, nothing there, right? And I think that's where Zeke kind of, he stumbled the most is the Cowboys offensive line just sucked there. And whenever that offensive line plays poorly, Zeke plays poorly. And, I just hope they get back and healthy because Zeke has been doing decent this year. But it's just been inconsistent. And I would just love a little bit more consistency out of him because when he does well, that offense does well. So
let's go back to the Jets. Michael Carter suffers a high ankle sprain on his left ankle, out 2 to 4 weeks. And honestly, if it's closer to the 4-week mark, shut him down. Shut him down. Don't buy. He is looking every bit as good as I think you and I both thought he would be. Now that he's finally been given the opportunity, shut him down and start fresh next year.
Yep. And I was at the bar with my buddy watching the Jets game, and literally he saw the hit and he just turns and goes, "The Jets can't have nice things. We just can't. We can have nice things." And that's the way it feels because Michael Carter was he was the highlight of, and actually both Michael Carters were the highlights of the Jets draft. Mm-hmm. Michael Carter, the running back, and Michael Carter, the cornerback. Mm-hmm. Michael Carter, the second, the cornerback, and now done. And like you said, possibly done for the season. If he can't come back, and maybe you want to get him a little bit more work with Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson's going to be back and healthy moving forward, maybe you try and get him a little bit more work. But it's.
The Jets are in a similar spot that the Giants are in because the Jets are going to have a top 2, top 3 pick. And then they also have Seattle's pick from the Jamal Adams trade. Yeah. So Seattle is not playing well. So right now, again, according to Tankathon, the Jets are on track for the 2nd pick and the 6th pick. Yeah. So, don't
Don't do
Fucking
don't do anything stupid like win a game between
Right.
now and week 17.
Don't jets it up
Yeah.
and bump yourself down, and then also somehow find a way to jets up those 2 picks as well. So
Oh, they
they
definitely will.
They'll fuck one of them up.
Yeah. No, they'll find a way that pick will go from the second pick to like the 9th. Actually, I don't think they can do that, but like it'll definitely go to like the 5th.
They will quick themselves out of position to get like Derek Stingley or Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
They'll end up picking like 4th or 5th.
Yep. And then they'll be in that position where they're like, do we take another quarterback? And it's like, yeah.
Right.
And that'll turn into the Browns. All right.
And then last to discuss on running backs, Jordan Howard, sprained knee, out for week 12. Now,
hopefully opens the door for some more Miles Sanders work.
I think they're working him back in after the injury. I think Miles Sanders is a very, he offers you a very safe floor moving forward, at least for the rest of this season. Fantasy football purposes for the rest of this season.
Let's see.
All right,
he had 16 attempts last game, so that's pretty good against a shit team like the Giants, the Jets, Washington, the Jets, and then Washington to finish out the fantasy season. If the Eagles, the Eagles are actually on, like, hey, running the ball is a worthwhile endeavor. Maybe we should do it more than 3 times over a span of 3 games. If they're actually believing that now, Miles Sanders may actually finish out the season well for any Miles Sanders owners. Or the Eagles could,
So believe it or not, the Eagles sit 9th in the NFC. And they have the tiebreaker over Carolina, who they're 1 spot ahead of based on head-to-head win percentage. So the Eagles have an outside shot at the playoffs, right? They come up against a pretty shitty Giants offense this week. I mean, give 5th most points to the running back, 11th most to wide receiver, 15th most to tight to 17th most to tight ends. I imagine this game is going to be all Philly. So Miles Sanders probably will see more than 16 touches. I hope he does more with them this coming week than he did last week. But you're also going to see other guys plugged in there. And that's where Jordan Howard would have fit in. But that's enough. That's enough Eagles talk. Let's talk week 12. And let's start with the guys that you should not be playing in your lineups this week. And that's anybody on the Cardinals or anybody on the Chiefs. They are on a bye this week. Do not play them. And the bye is actually coming at the best possible time for the Cardinals because they've been without Kyler Murray and without DeAndre Hopkins for a couple of weeks. So take them out of your lineup. Let's talk about some of the games that we look forward to the most this week. And I would like to pick up where we left off with the Steelers-Bengals because I think that's going to be one of the better games this weekend. Honestly, I don't care about the Thursday games. I don't think any of those are going to be really good games, in my opinion. Bears, Lions, Cowboys, Raiders. It'd be nice to see the Bills get back on track, but those games don't interest me a whole lot. But that 1 o'clock Steelers-Bengals game, again, divisional game. They're both actually, since he's sitting at 5th in the AFC, Pittsburgh's at 8th in the AFC. So both teams either fighting to improve playoff position or sneak in that last spot in the AFC. So Big Ben is back. He looked good last week, like we talked about with Najee Harris, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. Now probably a steady dose of Pat Freiermuth. The offense looked good against the Chargers, but the defense did not look good against the Chargers. I'd be more worried about the Steelers' defense and what they're giving up. They're giving up 9th most to the running back, so let's look for Joe Mixon to have a good game. 14th most to the wide receiver. You know what you're getting out of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Joe Burrow and actually Big Ben probably in for tougher matchups this week. Both teams are pretty good against quarterbacks. So, do we get, I don't want to call it a shootout, but I don't think we're going to get a defensive battle here. I think we're just going to see good, hard-nosed, AFC North football. They're just going to beat the hell out of each other. This is going to be a great game. You're on mute. You muted yourself. Still on mute.
All I said was, "God damn it!" I said, "Yeah, I kind of like it too." And there's going to be some fun in that game, at least in terms of fantasy production as well. Because again, you're going to have Deontay Johnson get 8 receptions. Who knows? Who cares for how many yards, right? You're going to have Jamar Chase on the other side. You're going to have Najee Harris, Joe Mixon. There's a lot of kind of plug and play fantasy options in that matchup. And it's also going to be a fun one for actual NFL purposes because those are two teams that they are trying to vie for, what playoff hopes do they have, right? And so those games always, to me, are games that it's all right, how can we use that? Hey, we're playing for a playoff spot as almost like motivation for a good fantasy outing as well, right? And I'm going to keep that same.
So on the plus side, quick. So plus side to that Steelers defense, they're anticipating Joe Hayden and maybe if it's preparation for that Bengals game. So that's a totally different defense with those 3 guys back there versus what we saw against the Chargers. So
I'm gonna paraphrase a bit there because Pat, you broke up a little bit. You got to close a few of those tabs
wonderful.
up. So Joe Hayden coming back, Minka Fitzpatrick coming back, and who was the other person that you were saying was coming back? Is that
T.J. Watt?
T.J. Watt coming back? Yeah. So that is a defense that's going to be really, really interesting.
Huge
to see what happens with those Bengals. So
I'm
going to keep the same kind of train of thought of a really interesting real NFL matchup, but also a fun fantasy matchup. At least it could be. And that's the Browns and Ravens. They're middle of the pack defenses. They have enough big name guys.
So we just talked. We're going to talk about the entire AFC North, aren't we?
I mean, yeah, why not? Why not? And sticking with the AFC North, right? You mentioned the Bengals and Steelers are 6-4 and 5-4. Well, the Ravens are 7-3. The Browns are 6-5. So there's an interesting little jumble that's happening there. And if you look at the Browns past couple weeks, they beat the Lions barely. They got smacked by the Patriots. They smacked the Bengals, and they barely lost to the tough defense of the Steelers were their past 4 games. The Ravens, and granted, there's been some question marks in terms of health there with Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown. They almost lost to the Bears, who we were just shitting on how bad Matt Nagy is. They almost lost to the Bears. They did lose to the Dolphins. They barely eked out a win against the Vikings 34-31, and they got smacked by the Bengals. So it's just a really interesting kind of set of matchups here where, the Browns smacked the Bengals smacked the Ravens. Who's gonna be on the smacking end of this matchup, right? And there's still hopefully going to be some fun there. We'll see what happens with Lamar Jackson's illness. We'll see what happens with Marquise Brown's his back, I believe.
Thigh.
Yeah, something along that way. I mean, Huntley didn't look good, but he was able to squeak out a win. So there's that going for him as a backup quarterback. Is this a game for Bateman possibly? Right. I do enjoy rooting for that guy, even though he hasn't been rewarding as he should be. And with the Browns, are we going to see Chubb and do really great Chubb things? Are we going to see, Landry has seen a little bit of an uptick without Odell there. Like there's some possibilities that there's maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones coming into his own a little bit. So hell, maybe even a little Ernest Johnson, right? Throw him in there a little bit too. So definitely some interesting plays there. And again, a really fun matchup for actual NFL because of the playoff implications, right? Like that AFC North, if the Browns win, they would be at 7-5. The Ravens would be at 7-4. If the Steelers were to win, they'd be at 6-4-1, and the Bengals would be at 6-4. They would all be a game away from each other if those two things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a really tight race in that AFC North.
There are some very good games. I feel that this week 12, it's very good or very shitty games because, but seriously, another
you got
great
the Jets and Texans, or
you got the Lions and the Bears, you got the Falcons and the Falcons and the Jaguars. I don't then I look at another 1:00 game. You got the Bucks at the Colts. I mean, are the Colts for real? After the drubbing they just put, I shouldn't say the Colts, after Jonathan Taylor just put on the Bills, you've got, I don't want to steal any more of your thunder if you're going to talk about them, but again, you got the Chargers and the Broncos at 4:05. I mean, you got the Vikings and San Fran playing at 4:25. I mean, you Green Bay and LA, like that, basically everything after the Buccaneers Colts game, minus you got Jets and the Texans, but Bucks, Colts, Steelers, Bengals, Chargers. I mean, it's just a great slate of football games, especially the later games and getting into Sunday night. So I don't want to spend too much more time talking about this, but I want to see what Jonathan Taylor can do against this Bucs defense. And I want to see what Eckler and Herbert can do against this Broncos defense that's pretty good as well, because, Denver, 28th. I mean, they're the fifth best defense against quarterbacks. 14th. Let me back that up. 28th most points to quarterbacks. That's good. They're not giving up many points to the quarterback position. 14th to running back. 10th most to wide receiver. 30th most to tight end. So are we going to see a steady dose of Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams? Can Denver shut down Justin Herbert? On the flip side, Chargers are giving up a ton of points to the running back and tight end position. Second most to the running back, third most to the tight end. So I don't want to go too much further because we've got some great fact attack questions that are going to cover some of this. So I want to save those for later. But you want to take a minute? Do you want to hit on either of those games, or were you looking at another one?
I just wanted to sneak peek and see if there was anything in there. So with that Broncos game, I'm curious. The Broncos were on bye last week. There's been a lot of Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, they've been very neck and neck. Melvin Gordon a little bit ahead of the rookie. Now that they're coming out of the bye, there's 6 weeks of fantasy meaningful football left.
Yep.
Who finishes out stronger these 6 weeks? Is it Gordon or is it Williams, barring injury?
Right. I'm not going to answer that question yet because that's coming up later.
Is there? I didn't see it. I tried
to. It's not that exact question, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
So, shall we call it a wrap on week 12, or did you want to?
I did want to go back to week 11 real quick. So did Singletary, Moss, or Breda score a touchdown
None of them scored Breda. I believe Breda had a rushing touchdown, correct?
And did Josh Allen have a rushing touchdown?
He did not.
So then you need to take a shot there, good sir.
I have water.
Well, you better drink that water. That's a terrible water bet. The water bet, yeah. No. You drink that water.
Here's what we're gonna do. One of the last shows we do this year, we'll just go back through and we'll compile the results of all the shot bets, and we'll just do them all.
Just somebody's is passing out in front.
Vomiting everywhere.
Why did I suck so bad at these bets?
I take that back. I don't like that idea.
No, done. Lock it in. God. That's a great idea.
Then you have to go back and compile up the results of all the shot bets.
We didn't do that many this year.
No, not this year.
We did. I think that was the first one of this year. Well, we got
paid up from last year.
Oh, God damn it, Pat! All right, is it time? It's time.
All right, Seth will put 5 minutes on the clock. We're going to answer your questions about starts, sits, pickups, ads, drop, whatever. We're going to try to help you out here for week 12 and the rest of the season. So, Seth, 5 minutes. Are we ready?
We are ready.
All right. Another one from Clark at Imperial T. The best ad for the rest of the season in a full PPR league. Ty Johnson, Javonte Williams, Devonta Freeman, Robbie Anderson.
I mean that's Javonte Williams for me.
Yes, I that is 100%. I agree. It is. It's Javonte Williams all day, and for a lot of the reasons you were laying out with your Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams discussion a few minutes ago, it's Javonte Williams all day.
Yeah, I mean I don't think he's gonna surpass Melvin Gordon without either an injury or poor play coming out of Gordon to finish out the season. But the fact that he's just involved, it's like a 55-45 split with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. And Javonte Williams has shown that, he can have a decent game with that 45, that 45% split. So I don't want any part of Robbie Anderson. I don't want any part of Ty Johnson with the Jets. And Devonta Freeman, I mean,
he's interesting.
Yeah, like he would be the number 2 out of this. Yeah. Like out of Ty Johnson, Robbie Anderson, and Devonta Freeman, Freeman runs away with it. Yeah. But I think Javonte Williams runs away with this one here.
Agreed. All right, let's go to at Craig Cam 0274 PPR Flex. Mike Williams at Denver, Judy at the Chargers, Gibson versus Seattle, Bateman versus Cleveland.
Oh man, I think it's Gibson.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't want any part of Bateman. I'm torn between Mike Williams and Gibson, and I'm just looking at. I mean, Seattle's.
That actually seals it up. That seals it up for me. Is looking at how bad Seattle was against Washington. I mean, you're going to have to be confident in that because it's the Monday night game, so you're going to have to be real confident in that. That's who I'm going to kind of go there because you're going to pass up other people to be there.
And I think too, a lot. We're at the point of the season now. If do you need safe floor or high ceiling?
Yeah.
Right. If you need points, you got to go with Gibson. I think Judy and Williams offer a safer floor, but a capped ceiling. Gibson gives you a much lower floor, but a much higher ceiling.
Yeah. And even Williams against Denver, I feel pretty nervous about that one too. I think my number 2 there would probably be Judy at the Chargers, even though the Chargers have a pretty solid defense. I think he would probably be my number 2 out of that group.
All right, this is from at Super Skull Fan, Half Point PPR Dynasty League. Elijah Moore or T. Higgins?
Oh man, I mean, Elijah Moore looked real good
He
last
has
week.
really come on strong the last, I believe, 4 weeks.
Yeah, and
He looks good. And look at what he's doing with shit quarterbacks.
yeah,
Like
but
T. Higgins has Joe Burrow. Elijah Moore has Zach Wilson, Josh Jackson. I mean, Mike White, us. Basically us. Me and you playing quarterback.
yeah,
I
and honestly, that kind of breaks the tie for me a little bit. Is
Same.
that I can foresee Joe Burrow being there for the next 5 years, and even though Higgins may not be the alpha on his team, it looks like Jamar Chase is going to be the alpha. Higgins is the 2, and I think you can make the case that those 2 guys can develop kind of like the Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley mock-up, where you can have 2 guys be really good, right? And I think that's why Higgins wins out for me.
I'm the quarterback play is such a big part of,
But I would be
wide
working
receiver.
I'd be working to try and get Elijah Moore just for something else. Like if I could do like Tyler Boyd and something to get Elijah Moore, I would be real happy with.
If you can find someone to sell you Elijah Moore, if you can acquire Elijah Moore for Tyler Boyd plus, good for you. Unless it's like a first round pick, because I don't see that happening anywhere. All right, let's do
Boyd in a second.
No, that's not enough. No, Tyler. We're talking Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
No. All right.
One more.
One
at
more.
The buzzer.
All right, let's
make it a good one.
Here's a fun one from @DocFF@Doc_FFB Dynasty League. Brandon Ayuk or Kadarius Toney?
Gross.
We went there.
I think I'm gonna go Toney here. Ooh. Just the. I think it's a little overblown with the Shanahan on the hot seat, like people saying that he's going to get fired. I think that's a little bit overblown. I think a lot of people don't like what he's doing there with not having Trey Lance in, but San Fran is they're still San Fran. They're 5-5. They're not great, but they're not, they're not the Giants. They still have an outside shot of making the playoffs, even with a 5-5 record, right? Because every other kind of second place team in all the other divisions, the best one is the Eagles at 5-6. The 49ers are the third best team in the NFC West, and they're 5-5. So there's still an outside shot that they could be the that last wild card spot. And are people happy with some of the Shanahan shenanigans? No, but I think the disappearing acts of Ayuk are more telling, and I think the display of quickness, agility, that to me has more potential in Toney. Now, could that be? I guess it seems like not a knee-jerk reaction because it's been 12 weeks. It does seem a little knee-jerky as I'm saying it, but Ayuk is just he's been trash for 11 weeks. He's had a couple worthwhile weeks, but compared to what I know I was expecting out of him coming into this year, I kind of would rather Toney, especially because both quarterbacks suck. Maybe both teams will have new quarterbacks next year.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on what I'm seeing on the field, I really like Toney's agility and the way he makes people miss. So I'm gonna go Toney.
We started to touch on it briefly with Elijah Moore and T. Higgins, and we talked about the importance of quarterback play. It doesn't matter if it's Jimmy G or if it's Justin Fields. I think both of them. Not think. I know that both of those are better quarterback options
than Daniel Jones,
or really whoever the Giants might be bringing in next year, or even the year after. Maybe 2023 might be different, but nothing about the incoming class of quarterbacks or even the current quarterback for the Giants scares me. Tony's also a little bit further down the depth chart than Ayuk is. So I think Ayuk is also someone you can get significantly cheaper than Kadarius Toney. So I will take the chance on Brandon Ayuk over Toney based on quarterback play, the price you're probably going to pay to get him, where he stands on the depth chart on his respective team. So I'll take Ayuk over Toney on this one.
Yeah, and I get it. I do. I like that's why like at the start of it, I was like, it's so like it's both of those are such speculation, right? Because you're trying to speculate like, is Ayuk going to carve himself out a role here? And I thought he was going to do it this year, but maybe he's going to be like that third year breakout that was typical for a while, and then everybody got impatient. Maybe I'm falling into my own, like I usually tell people, like, you have to be patient. Like the typical pathway for wide receivers is still 3-year breakouts. The elite ones break out year one and continue. Not everyone's going to be elite. So yeah, maybe Ayuk is a little bit more of a better play there, but I still just, Toney looks real good with the ball in his hands.
Fair. That's very fair. Just wish they'd get him the ball a bit more. All right. Good show. Good show. I liked it. That does it for us this week. Make sure you give the show a follow. We are at GX Fantasy Facts. Give Seth a follow at FF the At Home Dad. Give me a follow at Dynasty_Pat. Oh man, I'm tired. Make sure you use our promo code FAQS, that's FAQS, at ViridianGlobal.com. That code will get you 10% off at checkout. I'm waiting for the graphic.
Oh, you want that one? Oh. I mean, I did give you power to do it. You can do it too.
I don't see that one.
Boom.
I don't know where that one is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is that it's not under banners, is it?
No.
Anyway, use the code FAQS at checkout, www.ViridianGlobal.com. That'll get you 10% off. We also have a promo running with Underdog. That's at Underdog Fantasy. Use the same promo code FAQS, and they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. And as always, keep the questions coming. You can hit the show, Seth, myself. We're happy to help you out. I'll be doing tomorrow. I'll be doing at least the first round of for the Thursday games for players that I like, players that I don't like, based off of the number of thumbs up that I give them. I haven't been keeping track of how good or not so well I'm doing, so maybe that'll be a fun little exercise over the weekend.
Anecdotally, I know we've hit some of them, but then there's been other ones, like we were both like, Dan Arnold seems like a play to me, and then
literally zero.
Yeah,
literally nothing.
He may have
literally
not
literally
played,
nothing.
But
so we'll get those going and keep those questions. Keep those questions, comments, concerns coming, because it's always great to interact with everybody.
Yeah. Those questions were great. Make sure you do that, and we'll try and get them out there as soon as try and respond best we can.
It'll be tough with the holidays, but I hope all of you out there have a happy, healthy, safe Thanksgiving and holiday break with you and your families.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving. And I will either do my hashtag lunchtime live draft tomorrow or Thursday morning. It's probably going to be tomorrow, just so I can actually sneak it in there. So join me tomorrow around lunchtime, because that's, it's the last work day of the week for me. So I'm going to enjoy that. Oh, yeah.
All right. Good
Catch
night,
you on
everybody.
the flip side. Wait, you want some outro music, maybe? Yeah? Let's do that one more
I'm
time.
checking my phone now.
Catch you on the flip side.